Douglas, the book. And I have with me Rob Anspach from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and of course I'm Paul Douglas, the industry giant here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Um, Before we get started into the gist of what we're covering on this, and which is how do you get listed and what are the different colored hats in search engine optimization. Rob, have you ever had a client get delisted from the search engines?
Yeah, early on my SEO career, I was working with a client, and he came to me and asked me my opinion on something, and I said, no, I don't think that's going to work. So as I'm doing the keyword search and plugging in his keywords and getting his site ranked, he went ahead and used a service called Fiverr. And Fiverr has some good things, but apparently on this particular thing, the service he used got him delisted. Um, they did some funky stuff that, in my opinion, was unethical. The site was delisted, and it took almost 8 months for the site to come back onto Google after we had to go back in and clean everything up. And it happens. But there are things that Paul's going to explain to you that hopefully will help you from getting not delisted.
You're absolutely right. I see this happen quite a bit too. You know, it's funny because every single day I get an email from an internet marketer that says Black Hat is back, or you'll get an email from an internet marketer talking about a Google loophole that you can exploit. Um, well, folks, this is what Google does all these updates for, with the panda and the penguin and all these other smelly farm animals that they come up with. It's to basically stop people who are creating poor quality content, essentially spamming the internet search engines to elevate themselves in the search rankings artificially so that they can make a quick buck and move on to the next. It's churn and burn marketing philosophy. So if you're looking for a quick buck, if you're not looking for a long-term viable business, then by all means use some of these tactics and keep using them, but you're not going to create any growth or longevity out of it. But if you're like Rob and I and the clients that we deal with, we have a long-term business. We want to grow our business. We want to be around for a long time. So you don't want to do anything that is shady, unethical, or even questionable in the eyes of the search engines. They have their terms of service, which you can and cannot do as far as being um, an advertiser. But if you follow the same concepts and principles when you build your site, you should be okay. Now, let's. Everybody talks about black hat, white hat, gray hat. I mean, what is black hat? What is white hat? What's gray hat? And what works? Um, Black hat would be, for lack of better words, a lot of the old school tactics. So this would be where you would stuff your site full of keywords, whether they were relevant or to that particular page or not. You just stuff them into the web page. When that got closed down, people started taking those same keywords and then putting them at the bottom of the page, oftentimes hiding them by making the color of those keywords the same color as the page itself. So it would be invisible to the visitor, but would be picked up by the search engines. Going out and putting out irrelevant content everywhere, just with the link back from that website to your site, would be another black hat technique. Don't get me wrong. We'll cover backlinks in the next chapter. They're good. They're valuable. They'll help you rank. But it's changed. I used to tell people, again, this is old school. The one, if you've ever heard the line, the person who dies with the most toys wins, then it's very similar for search engine optimization 3 years ago, where the website that has the most links wins. Now it's the website with the most relevant, high quality links that wins. Now, what is white hat? Well, white hat is basically following the guidelines that is put out by Google to optimize your website to get found. Uh, there's people out there that will follow Matt Cutts from Google, and will follow every suggestion he makes to the letter. Now, does White Hat work? Well, you know what? It's their game, it's their rules. Yes, it does work. Does it work quickly? No. That's why people tend to want to cheat or game the system and use the Black Hat tactics so they can speed up the process while the White Hat takes effect. Um, but let me ask you this question. I mean, Google, as a search engine, they earn their living, they generate revenue selling ads. They don't generate revenue by ranking your website at the very top of the page. Um, and they're very, very protective of that page because, again, as we mentioned in a previous chapter, they want to deliver high quality content. They don't want to deliver crap to their users. They want to have a great user experience. So, what does that mean for you as the website owner and entrepreneur? Well, following the advice of Google to optimize your website would be like asking a father like Rob or myself for advice on how best to seduce our daughters. We're just not going to do that. Okay, we're pretty protective of our daughters. So you need to find something, I like to say, in between. Follow the guidelines, follow the concepts that Google uses. But if you're going to use some of the black hat tactics that are a little questionable, then protect and insulate yourself. And this is what I refer to as the gray hat. So if you think about your site, it's in the very center of your business universe. And surrounding your site, and we'll cover this in more detail with the link building, you can put sites that I like to call too big to slap by Google. So this would be sites like YouTube, which is owned by Google, Google Plus, Facebook, LinkedIn, uh, Amazon, Apple, to name just a few. Now, you can generate links back to your site from these high value sites. And then at the same time, you can interlink these with your content. And then you can then use the black hat tactics to increase the value of this insulated ring around your website. So if there's poor value going up to YouTube, you know what? They're not going to slap YouTube. It's not going to pass on the poor value to you. But if you pass on higher rankings to your video on YouTube, it'll pass up to you. So this is what I would like to call gray hat. It's not really good. It's not really evil. It's kind of like everybody else in the world, somewhere in between. And you're using sound concepts, but you're doing it in such a way that if something should change in how Google puts out their algorithm, then it's not going to affect your site directly. It's going to go towards the insulating sites you have around you. And what that does is, as I said, they're too big to slap. They're not going to be delisted. They're not going to be devalued. They're not going to be dropped in the search rankings from Google or Yahoo or Bing. They're just too big to slap. Just like you've got banks out there that are too big to fail. These sites are too big to slap. So um, if you find yourself getting delisted, um, the suggestion that I would make is go out, clean up all the backlinks that's going to your site, clean up your content, remove the crap, and essentially start from scratch as far as SEO goes, and start following some of the mostly white hat, a little bit of gray, and stay away from anything that might get you into trouble. And take your time. It does take a while, but again, if you go out and produce high quality content and you put it out on a consistent basis, and that content, as we mentioned before, should be relevant, recent, high quality, and of course unique, um, then you can find yourself moving yourself back up. It's going to take a while. So the best advice and suggestion I can give anybody is, if you want to take a shortcut, don't. What I find is that if you follow the rules and you follow the steps, you may not make it to the top right away. But what I find is, if you do provide high quality content, every time there is an update and sites ahead of you that use questionable practices get delisted or slapped or pushed down, that just automatically raises you up and it gives you a very secure position. So with that said, now that we've covered the different hats that you can wear as an SEO bully, or search engine bully, uh, next chapter and video, we're going to cover all the different ways, now that you've done the on-site stuff with the keyword research and the content on your website, how you can syndicate that content all over the web and create more value and more noise uh, with your content on the front page of Google. So make sure you come back and see that.